I shouldn't be telling you this, but here we are. What I'm about to say isn't meant for everyone. Most people aren't ready for it. Most people live and die without ever understanding how power really works, how manipulation, fear, and perception control everything around them. Machiavelli warned that truth, when spoken too plainly, is often seen as an act of hostility. But you're here, which means you're different. You're not seeking comfort, you're seeking power. Before we go deeper, pause for a moment. If you're one of the rare minds who wants to understand how control, dominance, and respect truly function in this world, subscribe now and drop a comment saying, "I'm awake." Let it be a signal that you've stepped into the circle of those who refuse to be naive again, because after this, you won't see people the same way. Machiavelli once said that the man who depends on the loyalty of others is already lost. The world rewards those who are useful, not those who are good. And yet most people live as if morality guarantees success. They think being kind, being honest, being humble will somehow protect them from betrayal. It won't. The lion does not ask the deer if it's ready to die. What you're about to learn is uncomfortable. Every relationship, every friendship, every alliance, even love, rests on power. One person gives more, the other takes more. One person chases, the other retreats. One person dominates, the other adapts. When that balance changes, when one becomes too dependent, respect disappears. And once respect is gone, love, loyalty, and even friendship rot like spoiled fruit. Machiavelli's warning was simple but brutal. Do not rely on their gratitude. People are ungrateful, fickle, liars, cowards, and greedy for gain. He didn't say this to make you cynical. He said it to make you free. Look around. Every system you live in, political, social, economic, was built by someone who understood this truth and used it to their advantage. The man who pretends to be good will always defeat the man who actually tries to be good. Because one plays with masks, the other fights barefaced. And in this world, masks win. This is Machiavelli's serious warning. If you refuse to learn how power works because it feels wrong, you will live as the prey of those who have no such hesitation. The first step is awareness. The second is control. The third is manipulation, but not in the sense of cruelty. Manipulation, in its purest form, is influence. It's the ability to move others without revealing your hand. Machiavelli said that a ruler must appear merciful, faithful, humane, honest, and religious, but be ready to act in the opposite way when necessary. Appearance is armor. He understood psychology long before the word existed. People don't follow truth. They follow emotion. They obey confidence, authority, and fear. And if you can control how people feel about you, you control what they do for you. The weak try to convince others with logic. The powerful influence others through emotion. But here's the paradox. The one who controls others must first control himself. Machiavelli saw that the greatest leaders had an inner coldness, a stillness that allowed them to think clearly when others panicked. They didn't act out of anger, love, or pride. They acted out of necessity. They didn't seek to be liked. They sought to be effective. You want to be respected? Stop chasing it. You want loyalty? Stop asking for it. People don't give loyalty because you deserve it. They give it because you're useful or dangerous to lose. It sounds dark, but it's liberating. Because once you see this, you can finally stop begging for validation. You stop seeking fairness from an unfair world. You stop expecting morality from people who only act moral when it's convenient. Most people are emotional slaves. Their opinions, their values, even their identities change depending on who's watching. They call it empathy, but Machiavelli called it weakness. The man who cannot endure being hated will never be truly free. Machiavelli warned rulers never to rely on goodwill. He said it was safer to be feared than loved if you must choose. But he also understood the balance. Fear must never turn into hatred, because hatred breeds rebellion. Fear, when managed correctly, breeds respect. In your own life, this principle applies everywhere. At work, with your friends, in your relationships, your strength must be felt, not shouted. The moment you explain your worth, you lose it. The powerful man moves in silence, acts with precision, and lets his results create fear. You must learn to hold your emotions like a weapon. When someone disrespects you, don't react. Observe. The emotional man reveals everything: his weakness, his triggers, his pain points. The controlled man reveals nothing, and that makes others uneasy, because people fear what they cannot predict. Machiavelli would tell you this: if you want to rule your world, you must first stop seeking to be understood. The need to be understood is the first sign of weakness. Every time you explain yourself, you're giving people a map of your emotions. Every time you try to justify your decisions, you're revealing that you still crave approval. And every time you try to prove your worth, you're admitting that you doubt it yourself. The world doesn't respect words, it respects power. And power is built through perception. That's why Machiavelli insisted on mastering appearances. He said that to maintain power, you must seem virtuous even when you're not. You must act calm when you're boiling inside. You must project control even when you're unsure. The illusion of stability is more important than stability itself, because people don't want the truth. They want confidence. They want someone who looks like they know what they're doing. And that's the secret that keeps the masses in line. They follow not the smartest, not the kindest, but the most certain. The tragedy is that most people will never understand this. They'll live believing that truth alone has power. But the world doesn't reward truth, it rewards strategy. So here's Machiavelli's first warning to you. Do not show your hunger. Never reveal desperation. The man who looks desperate is devoured first. Silence is your greatest weapon. Let people wonder what you think, what you want, what you'll do next. Ambiguity creates power. If you want influence, learn restraint. Learn to withhold information. Learn to smile when you're planning something. Learn to praise someone you intend to outmaneuver. Learn to lose small battles so you can win the war no one sees coming. This is not deceit, it's survival. Machiavelli wrote The Prince not to glorify evil, but to teach self-preservation in a ruthless world. He understood that kindness without strength is an invitation to be exploited. That mercy without control is just self-destruction dressed as virtue. And he was right. Because the cruel truth is, people remember how you make them feel, not what you say. They obey how you make them perceive your power, not how moral you are. So stop seeking to be liked. Start seeking to be respected. Stop showing your emotions to those who haven't earned the right to see them. And never forget this: in every interaction, someone is controlling the frame. If it's not you, it's them. Power doesn't always look like a crown or a throne. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's a smile that hides a plan. Sometimes it's the ability to wait longer than everyone else. Machiavelli knew that patience was the most underrated form of dominance. The emotional react, the wise anticipate. The impatient beg, the powerful attract. And when others lose control, that's when you rise. In the next part, you'll see how Machiavelli's final and most dangerous warning ties all of this together. How power, emotion, and perception merge into one strategy that can make you unstoppable or destroy you completely. Machiavelli's final warning isn't about others. It's about you. Because the greatest enemy of power isn't betrayal, fear, or competition. It's emotion. Emotion destroys strategy. It blinds judgment. It makes you chase validation, argue with fools, and lose control over your image. And in a world ruled by perception, losing control over how you're perceived means death. Social, financial, even spiritual death. Machiavelli saw that power begins inside the mind. If you can't rule your emotions, you'll never rule anything outside of you. He warned that rulers, those who truly want influence, must learn to act against their own impulses when necessary. If kindness weakens their position, they must act harshly. If honesty exposes them, they must lie. Not out of evil, but out of discipline. Because survival is the highest virtue when everything else collapses. The weak man reacts. The strong man chooses. When someone insults him, he doesn't seek revenge. He watches. When someone betrays him, he doesn't cry. He learns. When someone underestimates him, he smiles. Because invisibility is power. The people who think they're winning often don't realize they're being studied. Machiavelli called it the art of appearing harmless. You don't rise by announcing your ambitions. You rise by moving silently, collecting leverage, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Here's the truth no one likes to hear. Every human interaction is a negotiation, and in every negotiation, one person needs the other more. That's the one who loses. So ask yourself right now, who needs who more? In your relationships, in your work, in your social circle, are you the one who's needed or the one who's always chasing, explaining, proving? Because if it's the second, you're living at the mercy of others. Machiavelli would tell you to reverse that. Become the one who decides, the one who can walk away. That's where true power begins, not in control over others, but in control over yourself. He once wrote, "The one who becomes master of fear becomes master of men." Think about that. Fear is what drives most human behavior. The fear of rejection, of loss, of being forgotten. And those who can act without fear terrify everyone else, because they can't be controlled. That's why you must learn to kill fear, not by pretending it doesn't exist, but by acting in spite of it. When you move forward even when you're afraid, you're doing what 99% of people will never do. That's when life starts to bend in your favor. But Machiavelli also warned, power without restraint becomes poison. If you let your ego grow faster than your awareness, you'll destroy yourself from within. The same intelligence that lifts you up will become the sword that cuts you down. He called it the fatal arrogance of the powerful. It happens when a man starts believing he's untouchable, when he forgets that appearances are only as strong as the discipline behind them. Because the moment you start to believe your own image, you stop adapting. And the one who stops adapting dies. You must stay sharp. Never fall in love with your reflection. Never think you're safe. Power is fluid. It moves. The moment you get comfortable, someone hungrier takes your place. That's why Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved, but only for those who can handle the loneliness that comes with it. Because when you walk this path, you'll lose people. You'll outgrow them. You'll realize most friendships are alliances of convenience. You'll learn that loyalty is not eternal. It's conditional, and that's okay. It's not a reason to become bitter. It's a reason to become wise. Wisdom is the art of seeing people for who they are, not for who you wish they were. That's the essence of Machiavelli's warning. He wasn't teaching cruelty. He was teaching awareness. He wanted you to see that the world runs on mass, not morals. That everyone is acting, performing, pretending to be good so they can get what they want. The only difference between the powerful and the powerless is that the powerful know they're acting. If you refuse to play, you'll be played. If you refuse to manipulate, you'll be manipulated. If you refuse to strategize, you'll become part of someone else's strategy. So learn the game, observe how people use words to frame reality, watch how they shift blame, create sympathy, and use kindness as currency. Then decide, will you keep playing blindly, or will you become aware of the script that everyone else is following? Machiavelli's words were written for the few, the ones who dare to see without illusions, the ones who want control not out of vanity, but out of clarity. Because when you see clearly, you stop being a pawn. You stop being a victim of emotions, opinions, and manipulations. You become the calm in chaos, the man who doesn't flinch, the one people can't read, can't predict, can't control. But there's something deeper he hinted at, something most readers never catch. He believed that the ultimate form of power isn't domination, it's self-mastery. When you no longer need to prove yourself, you become untouchable. When you no longer chase, everything starts to chase you. When you no longer need validation, every room you enter adjusts to your energy. That's what modern men have forgotten. They think power is loud, aggressive, flashy. But true power is silent. It's calm, it's focused. It's the power of a man who knows he can destroy but chooses not to. And here's the paradox Machiavelli wanted you to face. If you want peace, you must understand war. If you want loyalty, you must understand fear. If you want control, you must understand chaos. You can't master the light without first mastering the dark. So when you look at the world, at politics, relationships, business, stop asking, why are people so fake? And start asking, what are they protecting? Because every mask hides fear, and every fear can be used. That's not evil. That's human nature. And if you learn to work with human nature instead of denying it, you'll move through life like a ghost through walls. You'll see motives before they're spoken. You'll predict betrayal before it happens. You'll act while others react. Machiavelli's serious warning to you is this: never let morality make you weak. Never let empathy blind your judgment, and never let emotion dictate your strategy. Be kind but never naive. Be patient but never passive. Be calm but never harmless. The man who understands this doesn't chase power, he attracts it, because everything in life gravitates toward control. And when you embody control over your words, your emotions, your timing, you become the gravity others orbit around. They can't explain it, but they feel it. The same way you feel the presence of someone who doesn't flinch under pressure. That's what Machiavelli wanted you to become. Not a tyrant, not a villain, but a man who understands how fragile the illusion of goodness is and how necessary strength is to preserve it. Because without strength, even your goodness will be used against you. So remember this: power isn't given, it's taken. Respect isn't asked for, it's commanded. And freedom isn't granted, it's earned by those who refuse to bow. The weak seek permission, the powerful move in silence, and those who can't be manipulated can't be defeated. That's the truth Machiavelli risked everything to reveal. It's the truth most people still can't handle. But you can. If you've made it here, you're not like most people. You're awake now. So if you're one of the few who truly understood what was said here, drop a comment saying, "I see through them." Let the others keep dreaming, because now you've seen the world as it really is. And once you see it, you can never unsee it again. Remember this quote as your final anchor: he who controls himself controls everything. Now go, move in silence, build in shadows, and when you finally rise, let the world wonder how you did it.